eventually begin to become blind as they progress through life. So for treatments and rehabilitation, because it's so broad as to what may cause blindness or visual impairment, there really is no, cure-all or anything like that. Surgery can fix some things, such as cataracts, either in congenital or later in life. Corrective glasses or lenses, kind of like how we were talking about with nearsightedness or farsightedness. There's also various optic medications like eye drops that can help reduce levels of glaucoma before they get too damaging. However, some congenital and conditions are irreversible, such as age-related macular degeneration. And so this is where rehabilitation and education kind of shine. And so this is something that I really admired about ABL, the Affiliated Blind of Louisiana, that I didn't know about, was that they offer so many education programs so that when people either later in life or earlier in life are learning to cope with blindness, that it kind of teaches them various movement and how to use various technologies such as Braille, canes, screen readers, things like that, to just kind of assist them in adjusting to their new life circumstances. And so that has led to our first guest, Mr. Harlan, who works both at the ABL Training Center and at Families Helping Families. And so I'd like to take this time just to give him the space to talk about some of his personal experiences, what he does with ABL and Families Helping Families, and how we as members of Beacon, just everyday people can learn to be better advocates and supporters, some little take-home tips and tricks to be more inclusive.
All right. Well, thank you. How are you doing today? My name is Harlan Kauser II. I am the president of the Acadiana chapter of the Affiliated Blind of Louisiana, and I also work as the adult program coordinator with Families Helping Families of Acadiana. I appreciate you guys having me here today. I'll start by telling you a little about myself. I lost my eyesight in a car accident when I was 18 years old, and I was hospitalized for about 6 weeks while they did surgeries and all kinds of different things to repair the damage from the car accident. The result, I ended up totally blind and deaf in one ear. And it took me several months to recover from that car accident, but at the time I was in the accident, I was enrolled in college at Southeastern Louisiana University. All I could really think about was getting back into school, because that was getting back to my life as I knew it. What I didn't know was that life had been changed forever. I had a lot of friends after the accident. They quit coming around so much. And before long, I decided I probably needed to make some new friends. I really didn't have very much training. I got a little bit of training at a place in Mississippi for a couple of months. And then I got the opportunity to go through a program to learn screen readers and get back into college. And that was what I really wanted. So I jumped at the chance. I did the summer program and learned about the screen readers. And after that, I enrolled at the University of New Orleans and spent 4 years going to college in New Orleans. It was challenging because I did not have blindness skills like Braille and good cane travel and all the assistive technology and other things that I needed, but I managed until I was a senior. And while I was at school, I got a phone call that my brother had been killed in a boating accident. And after that, I just kind of gave up. And I left school. I moved back to my parents' house. And I stayed there for 10 years. I really didn't know what to do. I really didn't have any blindness skills. And there really didn't seem to be a whole lot of options. Finally, in 2005, my parents, along with my aunt and uncle, got me some screen reading software and an old computer. And for the first time, I was able to get on the internet and start trying to teach myself a little bit about internet and the windows and all of those things that had come about recently. In doing that, I discovered a chat room for people who are blind. And as I started chatting with these individuals, I discovered that they had jobs and homes and families and hobbies and all of these things. And the one thing that they all told me was, you have to get training. You have to get training. And so I enrolled at the Louisiana Center for the Blind in Reston. And I went there for 1 year. And I received training in Braille, assistive technology, home and personal management skills, woodworking, and cane travel. By the time I had finished, I could read Braille at 52 words a minute. I could travel anywhere I wanted using a long white cane. I could use all types of assistive technology, including computers with screen readers and Windows programs like Microsoft Office. And I had also developed skills in woodworking and home and personal management. In the woodworking class, we had learned not only woodworking, but also how to repair sinks, how to repair toilets, how to label breaker boxes in Braille, how to install washers and dryers, replace doorknobs and deadbolts, and how to unclog sinks. By the time I finished that class, my final project, I built a portable island for my kitchen that I made out of black walnut. And I did that completely independently, using alternative methods that I learned at the training center. In my home and personal management skills class, we learned cooking. And we cooked everything from scratch. In order to graduate, I had to do a complete meal for 8 invited guests, from creating the menu to shopping, prepping, cooking, and serving, as well as cleanup. I also had to do a meal for 40 people. That was buffet style. So I did both of those, and when I graduated from the training center, I came here to Lafayette, and I enrolled at the Affiliated Blind of Louisiana Training Center. At ABL, I was trained in owning and operating my own food service and vending businesses, which after graduating from ABL, I went on to do for 8 years in Alexandria, Harvey, and New Orleans, Louisiana. While I was training at the Affiliated Blind Training Center, I met my wife, Kim, and when I took over my first facility in Alexandria, she came with me, and the 3 years while we were there is when our daughter was born. I, my wife, Kim, and my daughter, Carly, are all blind. I'm totally blind, and they are both considered legally blind. After 8 years in food service and vending, my wife Kim and I decided that we were tired of moving around and we were ready to make a change. And so we moved back here to Lafayette. And since we've been back here in Lafayette, I have been employed with People First of Louisiana and now with Families Helping Families of Acadiana. And I have also spent 2 years serving on the Families Helping Families Board of Directors. So that's a little bit about me. I feel like I've come a long way because in the last years since I completed my training, I have been all over the country to conventions and conferences and training seminars in Memphis, Atlanta, Baltimore, Austin, Indianapolis, and several other places as well. I have also worked with the National Association of Blind Merchants and the Blind Entrepreneurs Alliance, and gone to Washington, D.C. to meet with members of Congress on Capitol Hill to talk about employment opportunities for the blind. So I am curious to know how many people in our audience today have a disability. Do you know?
I can speak. I can't speak for anybody else. I mean, for myself personally, I've had to deal with anxiety disorders throughout my life.
Right.
And I wear glasses, but it's not nearly as not anything close to being legally blind or anything of that nature.
Sure.
Beacon's kind of open to anyone, so not just those who have disabilities, but kind of anyone who
Right.
wants to be
Right.
learn how to be a better advocate, inclusive.
So how many? So in addition to people with disabilities, you also have some people who are normal.
Beacon's open to just about anyone, students, faculty, people in the community. Anyone is open to join.
Great. Well, the first thing that I would like to suggest is that everyone forget that word I just used, normal, because normalism is the worst concept that the human race has ever created. It is an illusion that separates and tears people down. Every person on this planet is unique. Every single person is unique. I always tell people that we all have our own brand of crazy. But in all seriousness, I learned a very interesting fact that when a baby is in the womb, the baby touches the inside of the womb and touches things while it's in there. And these actions are what create fingerprints. And because of that, no two people are ever born with identical fingerprints, even if they are identical twins. And that's important because that helps us understand that every person in this world is unique. Blindness presents challenges. There's no denying that. And blindness, for me, for a very long time, was hard to accept and get used to, because our society wasn't created with people who have disabilities in mind. There isn't Braille on everything in our society, just like there aren't wheelchair ramps to every building in our society. What we have done is we have created a circumstance where the burden has been placed upon people with disabilities to conform, to appear as close to quote unquote normal as possible. For many, many years, laws and regulations and policies were passed pertaining to people with disabilities that treated people with disabilities as invalids who could not care for themselves, and created a place in society for people with disabilities to be taken care of. In recent years, especially since about 1970, people with disabilities have been able to receive better training, better technology, has been invented. More opportunities have been created for people with disabilities to participate in society. And now people with disabilities are working very hard to create their own place in society. Not the place that was created for them. But the important thing to remember when talking to people or working with people who are blind and visually impaired or people who have other disabilities is that they are people. They may be different than you. Considering that everyone in the world is unique, I would say there's a 100% chance that they're different from you. But the important thing to remember is that everyone deserves to be treated with the same respect and given the same courtesy and opportunity. I myself work a lot with people who have disabilities, and I try to teach skills for self-advocacy. Self-advocacy, to use a very basic definition, is speaking up for yourself. There are times when it's very important for us to have the ability to speak up for ourselves, whether it be in situations of school or work, or whether it be in our personal relationships. And what it all boils down to, for every person in this world, whether they have a disability or not, is the freedom to choose, to make your own choices about who you are, who you want to be, what you want to do, what you want to become. And for many, many years, that was a choice that people with disabilities did not have. I read a fantastic book by Dr. Sheena Iyengar. She is a behavioral specialist, and she wrote a very, very wonderful book called The Art of Choosing. In this book, she completely breaks down not just the power of the choices we make, but the power of having a choice versus the power of not having a choice. And one of the quotes that I always remembered from that book, and I use often when I'm speaking with people about disabilities is that if you give a child permission to have a cookie, but you place the cookie jar on a high shelf that's out of reach, then the freedom is an unusable commodity. Now, the point of that statement is because with all of the advents in training and technology and all the opportunities that have been created in the world, we still experience that gap. We still experience those difficulties. For people with disabilities, the Americans with Disabilities gives me the right to go anywhere that I want to go. But it doesn't give me the transportation to get there. And so in many cases, that freedom is an unusable commodity. More advances in training and technology are happening every day. In April, I'm going to be participating with open meetings for the United States Office of Access on how to start helping people with disabilities to get autonomous vehicles. I'm really excited about this because I don't know if you're aware, autonomous vehicles are cars that drive themselves. And this has been a very big project that's been going on for years with many different companies. And we're on the verge of being able to share that technology now with the public. And for people with disabilities, that kind of access to transportation could really help to bring that cookie jar down a little bit from that high shelf and could really start making some of those opportunities a usable commodity. So there's a lot of things that we work on day to day. I work on many different boards and commissions through my job with Families Helping Families, and at the Affiliated Blind of Louisiana, our organization has chapters all over the state. The primary goal for all of our chapters is to maintain the operation of the training center here in Lafayette. The training center teaches blindness skills like Braille reading and writing, home and personal management skills, assistive technology, computers, and cane travel. But it also teaches people who are blind and deaf-blind that they are important, and it gives them the skills and the confidence to go out into the world and express who they are as individuals. Many people have.
Mr. Harlan,
Yes,
I was going to say thank you so much for your insight. I mean, you taking us to church today. We do have another presenter, so I do want to save some time
absolutely.
for our vice president. But honestly, I would love to in the future to just have you just come talk for hours and hours. You spit out so many good things and so many wise sayings, like especially with like the cookie jar metaphor and just with the upcoming near and far goals. So just thank you so much for providing us with that insight.
Absolutely, anytime. And remember, people who are blind or deaf-blind, they're people just like you, but who they are is linked to their blindness, and it's something that they're proud of too. And so, you know, it's not something to be hidden, and just talk to them, and I'm sure they would love to be your friend. So thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Harlan.
All right.
Thank
Have
you.
a blessed day.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you too.
All right, so I am going to transfer the reins. So we were going to go over TBI and ABI today and have Mr. Paul Bosworth talk, but I think out of the interest of time, it's probably best to save that for another day where we can give it more time that it needs. So I'm going to transfer the reins to our amazing Vice President, Ms. Caroline Muir, to talk about multiple sclerosis.
So, multiple sclerosis is an autoimmune disease where your immune system attacks your nervous system, and so it usually specifically targets the myelin sheath around your nerves, which helps with your nerves having really fast communication, so your brain can tell your arm to move when you touch a hot substance, and all those wonderful things our nerves are responsible for. And so it creates a lot of problems when the myelin sheath is damaged because the communication slows down an incredible amount without the myelin. And so MS also creates, they're referred to as sclerosis, which sclerosis actually means hardening or scarring. And one of the ways multiple sclerosis is diagnosed is through like MRI scans, and it shows white areas on an MRI, which we have a picture to show you later, that's referred to as a lesion, and it's scar tissue in your brain and spinal cord. Wait, can I move the slides, or will you move my slide?
I will move your slide.
Thank you.
Like a signal or something, like give me a wink or something.
Okay, I'll give you a thumbs up. And so multiple sclerosis has a wide variety of symptoms. My mom actually has MS, and her symptoms, specifically in her case when she had her first attack, as they tend to call it, she had a hard time walking, and her legs felt like they were asleep all the time. But some other symptoms that are really common include fatigue, and it's not just like regular old fatigue, like you're tired at the end of the day. It's like you're exhausted and all day long. Numbness and tingling, so like when your arm or leg falls asleep, but constantly. Vision problems, issues with mobility, and cognitive and emotional changes, which is expected considering it attacks your central nervous system, so your brain, and it's much more common in men than women. And the cause is unknown, but genetics likely play a factor. On the risk factors graphic we have here, it says that 15% of people with MS have one or more family members who are related or relatives who have MS. And my mom actually has a first cousin who also has it, so it's not surprising. And nearly 1 million people in the US have MS. And so this is just a picture to help you visualize the damaged myelin on the neuron and how it creates distorted messages. And this is another visualization of that. It's a little bit easier to understand when you see exactly the damage that occurs. And this is an MRI scan of a person with MS in the brain. And those white spots that they have circled are the lesions that are characteristic of MS. So it's basically just bundles of scar tissue. And there's a variety of treatment options, oral medications, injections, and infusions. Most of them act to suppress the immune system, and there's no cure for MS. Treatment is lifelong. There's several different types, I suppose, of multiple sclerosis, and it's just defined by the progression of the disease. So when you look at this graphic, it shows you the different classifications of MS. So like progressive relapsing, you steadily decline, and relapsing is essentially when you have what in my family at least we call it like an attack, is when the symptoms are really amped up. And not only are the side effects of MS really tough, really hard to deal with, of just having the disease itself, a lot of the treatment options have really tough side effects. My mom was on a medication for a while, and it was a daily medication that she took by mouth, and when she'd take it, she'd turn bright red for like 10 minutes, and she said it felt like her skin was on fire. She's done daily injections before, and right now she's on a monthly injection. And but every year there's lots of research into treatments for MS, and so every year, every few years, something really promising comes out with less side effects. So that's very good. And so now I'd like to introduce our special guest, Miss Ruth Allemont from the Southwest Louisiana Multiple Sclerosis Foundation, to give us a little talk.
All right. So you kind of stole all my thunder there, but that's okay. I do have MS. I was diagnosed in December of 2010. A lot of the people that you meet with MS, they can tell you the exact date and time and all that kind of stuff of when they were diagnosed. I don't know the date and time, but I know it was December of 2010. And I started my medication in February or March the next year. So I am at 10 years taking the same medication all of this time. And my MS is absolutely perfectly stable. There's been, as I like to joke, nothing going on in my brain. None of the lesions have changed as to what they look like and what they're doing. And so that's all kind of cool. I'd like to go ahead and talk about the MS, the foundation that we have here in Lafayette. It was created by a doctor, and I'm sorry, I can't remember his name right this very second. He was the big MS doctor in this area, and he passed away not that a while ago, but we kept the foundation going. And what the foundation does is raise money to provide funds, provide assistance to people with MS to make their quality of life much better. So if they need, say, a walker or a wheelchair, or if they need a ramp to get into their house, that kind of stuff, they can apply to the foundation and help, and we can theoretically get them some money if they need it. Sadly, we have not been able to find a good fundraiser that works. We were doing something called Justice Grilling, which when it first started was lawyers having a burger cook-off. And so you paid so much to get in, and you got to eat a quarter of a burger from all these different places, these different groups, and you could vote on it. And it was really kind of a fun thing. But with the economy and all of that kind of good stuff, the last time we tried it, we actually lost money instead of making money, which is not a good plan for a group that's trying to help people. So, like I said, we do a lot of advocacy. We do on occasion programs, educational programs for people with MS and their caregivers. We have our support group here in Lafayette that normally in old days, in those normal times that we don't know what they are anymore, we used to meet in person. We changed it to the first Monday of the month. And when we can meet in person, we do that at the Lafayette Rehabilitation Hospital off of College Sloan. And it's just a time to get together with other people with MS and their care partners. And we're not a doom and gloom kind of group, but we do talk about things that we're doing that help us or that don't help us, so that other people can maybe try to use those suggestions or try to stay away from those kind of things. But one thing you need to remember is nobody's MS is exactly the same. I don't know what your mother's first signal was. You probably said it and I didn't hear it. My
Hers
first
was just tingling, like
tingling.
her legs fell asleep, and eventually they just wouldn't cooperate with what she wanted to do.
Yeah. Thinking back, hindsight is 2020. We think that my first actual attack was a visual situation years ago, and my eye doctor didn't think about thinking about MS, my eye doctor, and so he still kind of kicks himself for that. But later on, and this was like the early summer of 2010, I had this one little splotch of my skin that was numb. And then it started growing. So it was like right around my side, the abdomen area. And then it went from center front to center back. And then it went all the way down to my toes. And believe me, it's hard to shave your legs when you can't really feel your skin. Kind of weird. But when it actually got all the way down to my toes, I said, this is not right. Something is going on. So I went to my general practitioner and he says, okay, well, let's go take a look. And they did an MRI just of my back and thought they saw a bulging disc. So he said, let's send you to a neurologist. Well, the neurologist says, what you're telling me that you're feeling where this bulging disc is would not be causing that. So then we did a brain MRI and, oh, yeah, we got holes in your head. So we did get a second opinion, and that doctor also said the same thing. It looks like MS. And I think you mentioned it before. There is no one specific test to say, okay, you got MS, this is it. They use the brain MRIs. They use, in some cases, they'll do a lumbar puncture, the spinal tap, and that'll show different little enzymes in your spinal fluid. I hear that's a really horrible thing to have to go through. But in general, if you have these symptoms, and you mentioned a bunch of them, there also could be sexual issues, could be spasticity. That's when you catch little twitches you can't get rid of. There's also, like you said, the paralysis, the numbness, all of that kind of good stuff. Depression is a big issue with people with MS because you can't do what you always do. And so a lot of times this MS is kind of one of those invisible issues. A lot of times people will say, well, you don't look sick, you look just fine. Yeah, I might look just fine, but my body is just not wanting to do anything. And one of the big things is that we need to remember that your body's telling you something, and pay attention to it, and get it checked out, because the sooner you can get the diagnosis and get on one of those disease modifying drugs, the better off you're going to be. My doctor said I was a good age. I had very, very mild symptoms. And at the time, there were very few treatments. And he gave me all the information, this big old pile of books and materials that the drug companies have, and go look it over, come back and see. Now, you mentioned there's the injections, there's oral pills, and the infusions. And so a lot of times they say, look at this and see how it's going to fit in your lifestyle. Some people don't like needles. I don't have a problem with it, so I take an injection. Some people are not going to want to do the needles. Some people want a pill. Some people say, no, I got too many pills. I don't want to take pills. It all is just what's going to work in your lifestyle and what's going to keep you doing it. Because if you don't take it, it's not going to work. And so you have to keep on that regimen. Okay. Trying to think of what else I wanted to tell you guys about.
Miss Ruth, I love how you said that it's an invisible disability, because my mom actually has a handicap tag, and she's gotten berated many times in public for parking in the handicap space when she does have a disability and she does have a hard time walking. And just wish sometimes people would be a little more understanding and not just assume that every disability is so visible.
Right, right. In fact, when there's a lot of people around and I'm feeling really tired, man, I limp a whole lot worse when I park in the handicap zone.
The humidity always gets my mom.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And then, of course, you got to remember the use it or lose it philosophy of life. If we can keep moving, then the less likely we will lose some of our mobility. But it all depends on where those lesions are in your brain and what they control. And some people have those lesions near their optic nerves, so they do become blind. Some people have lesions on their spinal cord, and it does affect their mobility. Sometimes you can get the physical therapy, occupational therapy to help you get that back. In fact, the lady who was the support group leader, when I met her, she was in a wheelchair. Now she walks with a cane. So that's an awesome thing. So just if y'all want to do something for people with MS, one of the things, if y'all could come up with a fundraiser that would help us out, that would be great. To either for the foundation we have here in town or the National MS Society. They do a lot of research. They do a lot of studies. They do a lot of advocacy for people with MS. And if nothing else, this is a very costly disease. I don't know if your mom's taking drugs now. You said she was on treatment. My particular one costs approximately $10,000 a month. And that's a big chunk of change every month to keep the disease from progressing. So, whatever we can do to get the research, maybe we can find a cure. They've been doing things with stem cells. They've been doing things with different steroids, that kind of stuff. No cure yet, but we keep our fingers crossed. And by the way, March is MS Awareness Month. So it's kind of interesting you picked this.
I had no idea about that, but I'm really glad it turned out that way.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Miss Ruth. And please, like, if there's any way that we can offer some manpower or some donations, just be sure to reach out to us, and we'd be happy to help.
Like I said, if you know of a good fundraiser type thing, we'd love to hear it and love your help with it.
Will do.
Okay.
Right. For our final presenter, we have the woman, the myth, and the legend, Miss Jade Furl, who is actually the previous Beacon president for last year, here to talk to us about dance marathon at UL Lafayette.
All right, hello everyone. It's so great to see all of you, and I'm really loving all the presenters we had tonight. I really learned a lot, and I always love these meetings, so it's great seeing how great of a job all the new exec board is doing. I'm here to talk to you all about a organization I'm actually president of this semester. So it's Dance Marathon. Basically, the basis of our organization is raising money for Children's Miracle Network hospitals. So it's actually a national organization, but we personally fundraise for our 2 local hospitals located in Lake Charles and Alexandria. And we fundraise for the children at these hospitals who are sick, may have terminal illnesses, disabilities, anything like that, and we help provide equipment for them, services in the community, and put on different classes for them, and just basically provide things that they may not have gotten if we didn't give those funds. Last year, we had to flip our event the weekend that everything kind of went crazy with COVID to a virtual event, but this year we're actually able to do a hybrid event, so it's going to be in person as well as virtual. You get to choose which way you would like to attend. And actually today until midnight, we're doing $5 registration. So if you're interested in coming to our event, the in-person location will be in the Union Ballroom, and virtual, we're just going to do it over Zoom. So if you want more information, our Instagram handle is on here, and the link to sign up is in our bio. And it's a really great organization. If you like helping people, obviously you do if you're in this organization. And the views of it are very similar, and I really love being a part of it. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. But I really hope to see y'all at the event, and thank y'all for letting me talk.
Thank you, Jade. All right, guys. So just a quick upcoming events. In the email I sent out this morning, I had mentioned that this Friday, the LIFE program and the Down Syndrome Association of Acadiana are doing a little short little get-together and awareness event on UL's campus. They're going to be tying ribbons around some of the trees in preparation for World Down Syndrome Day, which I believe is March 21st. And so if you want to go to that, all you need to do is just meet in front of Randolph Hall. It's right by the Rose Garden on that side of campus. And just, show up with a mask, be prepared to walk around, tie some trees, and make some friends. We're also working with the students for the Autism Society, and we're working on like an Autism Awareness Week, kind of similar to what we do with Beacon for the Disabilities Awareness Week, but specifically for autism. So we're going to be looking to help them out, so I'll relay information about that to you guys as well. And then finally, we have the UL Life Spring Fling, which is a collaboration we're going to be doing with the Life program. We're thinking like a sort of like an outdoor dance / game night kind of thing. So a lot of details are being ironed out as we speak. So as I learn more about that, I'll also present that information to you. So yeah, thank you for joining us. As always, follow us on social media. Our YouTube channel is now up. It's so cool. For any members that could not make it tonight, or if you have any friends or family that wanted to see these types of meetings, please just show them. That way you can view all of our recorded videos. Keep an eye on our social media for new events like I was saying. And if you have any suggestions about how we can maybe improve the organization, any ideas that we can implement, or opportunities you think Beacon Club could help out with, please reach out to either me, myself, to our social media, or anything like that. We would love to hear from all of you guys. So yeah, thank you so much. Hope you have a great night. I wish you the best of luck studying for exams, and I look forward to seeing you guys next month. So bye-bye, everyone.